Hey guys, welcome to She Knows Arsenal. This is going to be a match preview for Arsenal versus Sporting for Thursday. We're in the round of 16 of the Europa League, and amongst all the excitement and great results in the Premier League, we are still fighting on two fronts. And so Arsenal are playing their second tie at home against Sporting after sealing a 2-2 draw in Lisbon. We remember the game. It wasn't great. It was a little bit sloppy, a little bit of a hard watch. Sporting played some good football. We were not as sharp and as clinical as we usually are. And we led into goals that I'm sure we don't want to look back at. And then Saliba scored a header goal, and there was an own goal from Marita, who I think will be suspended for this game to make it 2-2. And so Arsenal are in a position where the game is on a knife edge, and a lot of conversations amongst Arsenal fans are whether or not we should go super strong in this competition because the Premier League is the priority. And my feeling on this is that even though the Premier League is the priority, that doesn't mean that you don't try with every single, you know, thing that you have to win every single trophy that you have on offer to you in that season. And I think that when you have something else to kind of have your eye on as well, it keeps you from being super nervous and tense with the Premier League. Last season, we had nothing else but the league to fight for, the Champions League spot, and we didn't quite get it over the line. And I think having the Europa League also, one, to keep some players fresh and invested, and also to make sure that this is not the only thing that we're fighting for, and we're not totally tense around the Premier League because we're getting into squeaky bum time, could be a good thing for Arsenal. Plus, we're a big club, and we should be getting to at least the semifinals in a competition like this. And so with key players like Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard, Tierney, and Trossard back in the fold, I do think that we can put out a pretty strong lineup, not risk everything for the weekend, but still make sure that we get through to the next round of the Europa League and maintain our ability to fight on two fronts. So let's talk a little bit about what happened in the first leg and how we can keep that from happening in the second leg. I just think that we had one, maybe just a little bit too much of Bournemouth on the brain. There was a little bit of like a looseness and it's just a lack of sharpness from the Arsenal players overall. And then when you make a lot of changes, you have to account for the rustiness of players that haven't played that many minutes. And I think that's kind of what you saw from Turner and Kivior in particular. I think Matt Turner, who the last time that we saw him prior to the Sporting leg in Lisbon was against Manchester City in the FA Cup at the Etihad, and he was basically our man of the match. So I'm not really into all this Matt Turner slandering and he can't play and this and that. I just think we have to take into account the player is rusty, and yeah, he's the cup keeper, and I think he should maintain his spot. But I think there's some things that he can do to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a difficult situation at home. Sometimes you just have to kick it long. If you're not comfortable, kick it long. I know that we play a lot of short passes and we try to build through the thirds, but Sporting caught on to the fact that some of our players weren't at their best and they were really creeping into our half and getting into our box and making those passes difficult. Make the right decision at the right time. Just kick it long. But him and Kivior, I would continue with them in the team. One, because if you need them, you want them to feel like they can be counted on. I think if you drop both of them for this leg, you pretty much set yourself up for, the I wasn't trusted in the second leg. So like if I have to come in, I'm like all nervous and tense and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that just kicking it long sometimes and just being a little bit sharper because this isn't your first time playing in like 2 months will help, the two of them. I also think that when we saw Zinchenko and Jorginho and Xhaka playing in that midfield kind of that the left midfield space, I did feel like there was a congestion and too many cooks in the kitchen, too many players trying to pass 5-yard passes to each other, and Sporting just were right on top of them. And because they weren't quite as sharp as they needed to be, I don't know if it's Zinchenko with a little bit of tiredness and Jorginho with a lack of sharpness, but it just felt like an unnecessary amount of passes that didn't need to happen. And so, in one respect, I would just say I wouldn't want the three of them to be playing together anyway, like again in this leg, but also to stop the threat on transition, I would want a Tierney or a Tomiyasu to play left back in this game. Zinchenko is one of our most important players. We're going to need him against Crystal Palace. He's going to play plenty of minutes, but I just find the combination of Jorginho and Zinchenko to be a little bit samey. Tomiyasu did a really good job at shutting the back door in the leg in Lisbon. And so I think you do something quite similar in this game, just to make sure that if they were to get past Jorginho, they're just not in on our center backs and causing mayhem in that way. Jorginho obviously comes in for Thomas Partey. I don't think, after Thomas Partey playing 90 minutes against Fulham, you play him again in this game. And Jorginho is a perfectly fine deputy for a game like this. The only thing is that you have to account for his flaws and make sure there's buffers around him. So maybe Ben White and Tierney just play a little bit more secure, a little bit less gun ho, as Zinchenko and Ben White were kind of in the first leg, just to make sure that we're not getting just hurt on transition. We know against Sporting in the first leg, Everton, Bournemouth, all these teams, they were just in on our center backs because we were so gun-ho. And with Jorginho in there, you're just not going to have the athleticism that you would with Partey. So you have to limit the flaws and counterbalance it in some way. So again, backline would be Turner. I would keep Ben White out there, play Saliba and Kiwior as the center back pairing like you did in Lisbon. And then instead of playing Zinchenko, play Tierney. If maybe you don't want to play Tierney, play Tomiyasu, but just make sure you don't have the combination of Jorginho and Zinchenko, because for me, it doesn't work. Also in midfield, I think the obvious choice there is Granit Xhaka. He's looked a lot fresher since he's gotten a couple of games or halves off. Due to Vieira coming in and doing a little bit of work there. So I would play Granit Xhaka and also Odegaard to keep some continuity in our midfield. And then up top, because Trossard has come back in and he looks so sharp against Fulham, I think you play him again and you have the eye to give him about 70 minutes. And then once those 70 minutes are up, maybe give Gabriel Jesus 20 minutes there. You play Martinelli off of the left because he's just the ever constant over there, and him and Trossard have a really good connection on that left-hand side, just kind of switching positions. And then maybe you give Saka a rest. I've heard a lot of Arsenal fans talking about Saka needs a rest. Maybe this would be a good game for Fabio Vieira to play off of the right, just because he's done it before. He did it at the end of the Fulham game. And I think that he's done enough to earn the start to be kind of like the first man up. And so I would play Vieira at right wing, give Saka a little bit of a break with an eye to, if things go wrong and things go left, you can still bring Saka on. You can still bring Gabriel Jesus on. You still have a little bit of firepower on the bench. Now, I think that we do go through. We're at home. We've only lost 2 games at home all season. One obviously to Manchester City, and then the other one was in the cup against Brighton. But with Arsenal in cups, I do feel like there's a little bit of a fragility, especially in Europe, where when you make a lot of changes, the team that comes in, I don't know if it's just because they haven't played a lot of minutes or they're not up for it, but we don't tend to get that same vigor and that same fight. So hopefully this group can have the right attitude and the right intention in this game to try to get it over the line. But you do have to trust some of the squad, because if you don't trust them now, if you need them later on, they may not be able to perform. So again, my prediction is that we will go through. Hopefully it's smooth sailing and on to the weekend against Crystal Palace. Let me know in the comment section what lineup you would go with, what you think is going to happen results-wise. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.